Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby. Today we're going to be doing my March TBR and my March video plans because, let's be honest, my March TBR is a little bit all over the place because I'm going to be working on a few different reading vlogs in the month of March where like my TBR is going to be kind of out of my control until I'm literally sitting down to film the video. So I'm going to be letting you know about some of my video plans that I'm working on this month, as well as a little bit about the Screaming Color readathon that I'm going to be hosting over on Patreon this month, which is, you know, why I'm wearing a yellow shirt. And then also about the booktube. So let's jump right into it because I have a lot of information to share with you. So if you haven't heard, for the booktube for the month of March, we're going to be reading the book The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is one that I'm so excited to finally be reading because I've been highly anticipating this thriller for such a long time because I was such a huge fan of both The Silent Patient and The Maidens. Like, I loved both of them so much. This is the third book from this author and I don't know too much about it other than that we're following this character who's a reclusive ex-movie star and it takes place on her private Greek island. Like, what the heck? It sounds like it's gonna be a good time. I feel like there's a lot riding on this being my booktube book club pick, you know, because the first two books from this author, both The Silent Patient and The Maidens, were both 5 stars for me. And for my book club this year, I'm starting off the year with such great picks. I feel like this has to be a good one, right? Like, I will be absolutely devastated if I don't give this book 4 stars or higher. Like, I am really looking forward to this one. I'm also really excited for the live show for The Fury because I'm gonna be joined by both of my friends Gabby from Ola Books and Nakia from Nakia's Hideaway. And I've been friends with both of these creators for such a long time and I've never had them on the booktube before, so it's gonna be so much fun to have both of them read this book with me. I'm just so curious to see how we'll end up feeling about it, so I can't wait for this live show. And then if you haven't heard, for the month of April, we're gonna be reading the book Murder Road by Simone St. James. And this book is actually publishing in the month of March, I believe, but we'll be reading it in April for the booktube. I'm really excited for Murder Road because the premise, it sounds like it's gonna be really interesting, and even though Simone St. James can be quite a hit or miss author for me, I'm really hoping that this one is gonna be a win. And I'm also excited to let you know that for this live show, I'm gonna be joined by my friends Gavin and Katie. I'm sure if you're at all familiar with my channel or with the booktube, then you know who Gavin and Katie are. But just in case you don't, I will have both of their channels linked down below. They are both some of my closest friends here on the internet and on booktube. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, how have I not had a booktube live show where I have both of them on at the same time, you know, because they've both been on the booktube multiple times before, but never together. And so we're gonna bring a total different new amount of chaos to this booktube live show in the month of April. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I do have an announcement about the May booktube pick. So I did have my Patreon vote on these 3 books here, and I'm very excited to let you know that out of these 3 picks, the book Diavola by Jennifer Marie Thorne ended up winning by quite a bit. And so this is gonna be our May booktube selection, which I'm so excited about because we have another horror book in the mix. I feel like I love with the booktube when we get a mix of both like thriller and horror books. And this one, I mean, gosh, this cover looks truly disturbing. Like, I can't wait. This book is actually publishing at the end of March. So I'm glad that it will be publishing in this month so we can get our hands on it early for when we read it together in May. But this one is described as a gothic horror book. There's also, I can see the tags on the Goodreads page. It says it's tagged with ghosts and Halloween. Like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so fun. The only thing I know about this one is that we're following this family who's on a vacation. The description on this one just says, Jennifer Thorne skewers all too familiar family dynamics in this sly, wickedly funny vacation gothic. Beautifully unhinged and deeply satisfying, Diavola is a sharp twist on the classic haunted house story, exploring loneliness, belonging, and the seemingly inescapable bonds of family mythology. See, this one just sounds so interesting to me because not only do I love reading books about like family vacations or even vacations gone wrong, like I don't know if that's where that's going, but like the haunted house trope also, like I'm here for this. I'm so excited. I know my friend Ashley actually just read this one and she said it's a little bit of a slow burn, but then the ending gets really crazy. I'm just so excited to read this one for the book club. I think it's gonna be such a fun time. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is my readathon called Screaming Color that I'm gonna be hosting on Patreon this month. So if you haven't heard, Screaming Color is a 48-hour readathon that I host 3 times a year over on my Patreon. It is, in fact, named after the Out of the Woods Taylor Swift song when she goes, "The rest of the world was black and white, but we were in screaming color." This is actually going to be my 4th time ever hosting Screaming Color. I hosted it 3 times last year and it was genuinely so much fun. Like, some of my favorite things that I've been a part of on the internet. And it's where we just read together for 48 hours over a weekend long, and the theme of the readathon is just to read books with the same color on the cover. And so I'm wearing a yellow shirt for this video because this round, the color is going to be yellow or gold. So we're all going to be reading books that have either yellow or gold on the cover. It doesn't matter how much of the color is on the cover as long as it's somewhere on there, which is awesome because, you know, our booktube book club pick does have this goldish yellow all over the cover. So you could read The Fury for Screaming Color and the book troop in the same month. So this round of Screaming Color is going to be taking place over the weekend of March 23rd and 24th on the Saturday and Sunday. And so over on my Patreon on the 23rd, I'm going to be hosting 10-hour-long reading sprints where we read together for 10 hours, and then in between the reading sprints, I'm going to be hosting some trivia, book-related trivia, Taylor Swift lyric-related trivia. I also like get some distorted movie posters that are yellow and you have to try to like figure out what it is. It's going to be such a fun time. I always have such a fun time hosting Screaming Color. Some of the books that I'm considering reading for this readathon include Yoke. I mean, this is like one of the most vibrant yellow covers I've ever seen in my life. This one's a young adult contemporary story about this girl and her sister. I don't really know much about this, but I've had this sitting on my shelf for literally so long. Like, I've been wanting to read this book for such a long time, and I feel like Screaming Color is like, I have to read it for yellow, right? Like, this is the most yellow cover, and so I'm definitely going to be prioritizing this one for Screaming Color. I'm also thinking about reading A Sliver of Darkness by CJ Tudor, because this one is a short story collection, and it's actually all horror short stories. CJ Tudor can be such a hit or miss author for me, but this is one that I've been wanting to get around to for such a long time. It's just been sitting on my shelves, and this one is on the shorter side too. It's only 232 pages, and because it's a bunch of short stories, I feel like I'll be able to get through this one very quickly, and I love the idea of reading a short story collection during a short readathon like this. So this is something I'm definitely trying to prioritize for that readathon. I also do have a few other options for other books that I might try to check out during this 48 hours. I mean, it's probably going to be like a mood reading kind of weekend, you know, just like anything that has yellow on the cover, I might just go for that. But this one, The Half Moon, this is one that I've been wanting to read for such a long time now. I've just had it sitting on my shelf staring at me, and this one has these really beautiful like half gold moons, but this one is more of a literary fiction type of novel. I really loved the book Ask Again Yes from this author, which is why I still want to desperately read this one so badly. So I might read this one. And then I also have this thriller, Thicker Than Water by Megan Collins, just sitting on my shelf as well. This is one that came out at the end of last year, I'm pretty sure, but I haven't really heard anybody talking about this book, so it makes me kind of nervous. I'm like, is this good? I mean, I don't know. I might try to read it because there's a lot of yellow happening here on the cover. This one sounds like it might be a little bit more of like a domestic thriller because it sounds like there's some like marital and family drama. So like, I don't know if it'll be my thing exactly, but maybe I'll give this one a shot. It just depends on how much time I have to like get to different things. Okay, and then as for the rest of my plans for this month, the reason why I don't have a lot of control over the rest of my TBR this month is because of the different videos that I'm going to be working on. So one of the videos I had an idea for this month is that Rachel is going to be, you know, Rachel, my sister, she's going to be controlling my TBR in a way. I recently saw my friend Riley make this video where it's kind of like a choose your own adventure kind of vlog, and she had like Sarah help her out with that, and so I thought that would be super fun. So I want to do something kind of similar to that, but with my sister Rachel giving me the prompts. And so I'll have Riley's video linked down below if you're like, what the actual heck are you even talking about? I had so much fun watching Riley's video with that, and I was like, I really want to do something like that with my sister. And so I'm gonna be doing that for the first week of March. So I'll have Riley's video linked down below. I highly recommend checking it out. It's so much fun. And so because Rachel's gonna be controlling my TBR for that week, I don't really know what I'm gonna be reading for that first week of March. And then I also had all of these different ideas for different reading vlogs that I wanted to work on potentially for the month of March. I actually had my Patreon vote because I couldn't decide. I had 5 different reading vlog ideas. And so I had my Patreon vote, and I was like, whatever the top 2 are, then I'm gonna prioritize those in the second half of March. And the 2 that ended up winning, one of them I'm very excited about because it's gonna be the Backlist Bonanza episode 2. So if you missed it, at the end of last year, I did this video where it was called the Backlist Bonanza, and it was just where I read some books that have been on my backlist, like some books that have been sitting on my shelf for a long time that I've been meaning to get to, and I just read those for a reading vlog. But I said this time what I would love to do is put a ton of books, like literally all of the books that I have on my backlist. I wanted to put them on a little spin the wheel and then have the wheel decide which books that I prioritize for that video. And so I literally added, I don't know if you can see how microscopic this is, but I added 47 books onto this little spin the wheel that are all books that are just, you know, sitting on my shelves. They're just backlist books that I haven't gotten to yet. And these books have been published as recently as like last summer, but also like all the way back to like, I don't even know. Almost all of the books that are on my backlist TBR, I've included on this spin the wheel. So for that video, I'm going to be reading 3 books, but I don't know which 3 backlist books I'll be reading yet because the spin the wheel is going to figure that out for me. So I figured that would be a really fun way for me to include the spin the wheel in a video again because of how much fun I had with the Manga manga. If you haven't seen the manga challenge video that I did, I included this little spin the wheel to like choose the order that I read them in, and it literally made that video so much more fun for me. Like I was having the time of my life with the spin the wheel. So I was like, I need to figure out a way to include this in more of my content because it was so much fun. And then also because I realized like while I was putting some books on this spin the wheel, I was kind of like, oh, like in my head I was like, I don't actually want to read that, or like I hope that one doesn't get picked. And I was like, if I'm feeling that way towards some of these books that have already been sitting on my shelf for like so freaking long, then clearly I just need to unhaul that, right? So I think I will be doing another unhaul video this month because I have so many books that I was like, I don't want to put this on the spin the wheel. So I'm like, if I don't even want to read it, why do I still have it? So because of that realization, I ended up not putting certain books on the spin the wheel that I like was not excited about. And so I'm just gonna unhaul those books because clearly they're just taking up space at this point if I'm not even excited about reading them anymore. So you can expect an unhaul video coming from me this month. And then the second vlog idea that ended up winning the Patreon poll, this is so unhinged. Like this is probably the most unhinged thing I've ever done on this channel. But I was talking about this when I was doing reading sprints with my friend Jessie, and we just like randomly talked about this idea for a vlog, and I was like, that would be crazy, but like so fun. So the idea is that I'm gonna read the last chapter, like the final chapter of a book first, and then predict how I'll rate the book based off of that last chapter, and then read those books for that video and see if I can accurately predict what I would rate the book based off of that last chapter. I know, it's unhinged, it's ridiculous, it's like, why would you ever do that? But I just think it would be fun. I think it would be a little chaotic. I think it would be interesting, and I'm actually really curious to see if that's something that I could even do. I'm trying to figure out like which books I would even want to read for a video like that, because in my head I'm thinking I should try to read books of like different genres so that I'm not just like, you know, because if I'm only reading like say romance books, it's like, okay, well, you know, romance books can only end one of so many ways. Like, I don't know, it's not that interesting, right? But if I read like a thriller and a horror book where I could potentially see the reveal, you know, like, I don't know, it could be chaotic, like things could get interesting. But some of the books I was thinking and considering reading for that video include Let Him In. This one is a horror book that was recently sent to me off my Amazon wishlist by Vanessa, so thank you so much to Vanessa. This is one that I've just been seeing around, you know, in the horror community. I'm like, this kind of sounds interesting. This one's only about like 230 pages long, so it's not very long, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll just read the last chapter first and then see if I can predict how I'll rate this book. Like, I don't know, I think this would be a fun experiment. I also have the book A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. This is like one of my most anticipated books of this year because of how much I loved 7 Days in June, and this cover is just absolutely stunning. Oh my god. But anyways, I think this one might be a fun one to try and read the final chapter first. I don't know though, because in some of these books there is an epilogue, so I'm like, would I read the epilogue or would I actually read like the last chapter? Maybe I can put up another poll for that to see what people would prefer. But like, I don't know, would I completely ruin my reading experience if I read the last chapter first? Like, I don't know. But this is one that I'm considering because this one is not only a romance book, but I do believe there's some kind of like magical element to this story. I can't remember, I haven't read the premise in a while. And then I'm also thinking for the thriller pick, maybe I could read She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica, because this is a thriller arc. This one actually goes on sale April 2nd, so it does go on sale pretty soon, and this is one I've just been so curious about, and I'm thinking maybe this could be the thriller that I read the final chapter of and then try to predict how I rate it. I don't know. Oh my god. Actually trying to like think of which books I want to read for this challenge is like painful. Like, this is painful for me. Maybe I should like save myself the pain and just try to read the Taryn Fisher last chapter, because I'm not that excited about this book. So like, maybe it wouldn't ruin anything for me. Like, maybe I should save this one for Screaming Color because it's yellow. I want to try to fit this into my TBR this month for any kind of video, so I don't know if it'll be for the last chapter video because I'm scared. And I was also thinking maybe for the romance book, if I do end up picking a romance to read the last chapter of, maybe it'll be this one. This one's Here We Go Again by Alison Cotron, and this one goes on sale April 2nd, but this is one that I've been highly anticipating because of how much I love this author's romance books. Like, I always love her books, and even though this one has some tropes that I don't typically care for, I'm still really interested in it, so I might try to read this one for that video. But if not, I'd love to find a way to try and include this book somehow into any of my videos this month. I don't know. But anyways, some other books that I'm hoping to fit into my TBR this month include ASAP by Axie O. This one is actually like a companion book to that young adult romance book XOXO that I was like a huge fan of when I read it a few years ago. And this one's a companion novel, so I can't remember if we're like following their friends or like there's their characters who are connected to those characters. But in this story, we're following a girl who's a K-pop idol. And I don't know, it just looks like it's gonna be cute. It looks so much fun. My friend Brittany just got me this physical book, so like thank you so much to Brittany. I want to read this so bad. So I'm gonna try to squeeze this book in this month, even if I don't end up reading it for a video. I just want to read this month anyways. And then I would love to get to some of these thriller arcs that are just sitting on my shelf. I mean, this one actually just came out, A Step Past Darkness. This one just came out February 20th, so this one is already available in the world. Like, I need to get my shit together and read this, but this one's so long. Oh my god, it's like 470 pages. But this is a thriller that I'm very interested in reading, and I would love to try and fit it into my TBR this month, as well as Everyone Is Watching, especially because this one was gonna be like a book troop potential option. So because it ended up losing that poll, I get very curious about it, and like I want to read it because I want to know if it could have made a good book troop pick. And this one does come out March 26th, so it would be perfect timing for me to try to read this one this month. And then lastly, some manga that I'm hoping to get to this month includes Summertime Rendering Volume 2, because of how much I loved the first volume of Summertime Rendering when I read it for my manga video. I would really love to get to this one. I actually have this one checked out from the library anyway, so like I need to get to this sooner rather than later. And so hopefully I'll be able to squeeze this into the month of March. And then I also have Parasite Volume 2, which even though I gave the first volume of Parasite like 3.5 stars, like I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I did actually buy this book when I was in Seattle at the manga bookstore. Like I bought this book before I even read the first volume because I assumed that the first volume was gonna be like my shit, like my favorite thing ever. But I still do definitely want to continue in the series, so I'm glad that I have this second volume so that I can do that. So hopefully I can fit this book into the month of March as well and read this. But yeah, we'll just have to see where the month of March takes us. You know, like I'm not entirely sure because there are so many videos that I'm doing this month where my TBR is just kind of out of my control. Like I can't wait to see which books the spin the wheel ends up choosing for me for the backlist thing that I'm doing. And then also with my sister controlling my TBR, like that is going to be a whole thing. I'm so curious to see where that goes. And for Screaming Color later this month, I can't wait to host another round of this readathon. It's so much fun. If you are considering joining the Screaming Color readathon, just so you know, it is available to every single one of my Patreon tiers, so you can be on the lowest tier and still participate in Screaming Color. And it's so fun because, you know, I host the reading sprints and trivia for 10 hours on that first Saturday, and then on the second day, on the Sunday, I host like 5 to 6 hour long reading sprints just so we can finish up on all of our reads. And I think I am gonna try to vlog that weekend. I think. I said last time that I would, and then I didn't end up doing it because it was way too much. But this time I do think that I want to vlog that weekend, so hopefully there will be a reading vlog revolving around Screaming Color as well. Over on my Patreon this month, I have so many things planned. I think we're gonna have an Eras Tour watch party. So if you're a Taylor Swift fan and you feel like hanging out with us, dude, I can't wait, because they are uploading the Eras Tour to Disney Plus this month in the month of March. So I was like, I mean, say less. Like that just means that we're gonna have to have an Eras Tour watch party on my Patreon. So I think it's gonna be such a good time. We also have another movie night going on Patreon. There's tons of reading sprints. Me and my sister are gonna be doing like a live show the day after the Oscars just to like talk about the Oscars during our next troop talk. Like it's gonna be so much fun. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I will have the link for my Patreon down below. And thank you so much if you're even considering signing up for my Patreon. Like I really do appreciate you so much. I appreciate that community of people on my Patreon so much. You have no idea. So thank you so much for watching as always, and please let me know if you're planning to participate in reading the book troop pick with me this month. And also if you're thinking about participating in Screaming Color, I would love to know what you're planning on reading. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye!